Hello and welcome everybody to the Pip Hearthstone Death Knight card review together with me in chat. Right now we'll have a look at the Death Knight cards that have been revealed so far. A few of them have been released early, so we'll look at them a little bit later again. But now we know that all of these cards can be used in Warlock as well, and we're going to look at these cards a little bit and think about if they're going to be useful in Death Knight and in Warlock. Alright, first up we have 2 mana 2/2 Undead Pirate. Rush, Death Rattle, summon a 1/1 Dreadhound with Reborn. First thing that I saw when I looked at this card, I was like, I'm not even sure if, I was thinking if this card didn't have Rush, maybe it would be playable, maybe it'd be borderline. But I think with Rush, this card is really good. It's 3 bodies, it gives you 3 corpses. The Hound is an undead beast as well. You have a lot of tribes in here, which is nice. They're all undead, so they can be used with undead buffs and undead synergies. I really like this card. I think this is like a quite good card. I'll give stars, I think, at the end of the whole thing. I'll go through all the cards quickly of each class again, and I'll give them a star rating. So, you know, if people are just interested in the star rating. But anyway, so yeah, this is Dreadhound Handler that spawns a Dreadhound. So this is, I think this is pretty good. This might be a little bit out of theme for Warlock. I don't really know how Warlock utilizes this, but I think for DK this is really nice. Then we have 4 mana, 1 Rune. Ghouls Knight, summon 5 1/1 ghouls that attack random enemies. And the 1 Rune is Unholy, I should have said that. So 4 mana, 1 Unholy Rune, Ghouls Knight. Of course, if your opponent has no board, this is 5 damage face, which is really nice. And it's always 5 corpses. The ghouls are also undead, which means they can be buffed with undead buffs as well. So it's a really interesting card. I am, however, not entirely convinced that this is good enough. I don't really see these 5 corpses seeing enough play. I think for 3 mana, having the 3 that rush and die at the end of a turn, the 4 that rush at the end of the turn, might be better because you get to choose your targets. Sure, this goes phase, but that also means you need 5 board slots. And that is sometimes a little bit of an issue when you play a little bit more of a strategy that wants to have these. You probably also, you have Mining Casualties, which is for 2 mana. You get 2 1/1s and then 2 1/1s with charge when they die. I feel like that's kind of better, unless you really need the face damage, but face damage with the Unholy Rune isn't something I'm super interested in. So, for now I think I'm gonna, I don't think this card's super great. Then we have 2 mana, 1 Unholy Rune, Brittlebone Buccaneer, which is a 2 mana, 1/4 Undead Pirate. Whenever you play a Death Rattle minion, give it Reborn. I think this card's pretty decent because you can play it on curve with there's a 3 mana 2/2 that draws you a card on Battlecry and Death Rattle. That one's pretty nice. There's other nice Death Rattle minions. I mean, there's Egg. I think it's still on standard. But the one card that really makes this stand out, and I think that's the sole reason why you probably want to play it, is Reska. Just having an extra Reska charge is pretty huge. So I think simply because Reska is such a broken card and you probably want to have multiple activations, Reska is just the card that wins you games, right? And sure, it's just a legendary, but a lot of Death Knight also comes just down to discovering maybe even more Reskas. And I think this is a good shot. But you can also play it on curve with 4 HP, it'll probably stick a lot. It'll do quite decent. And then in the late game it can be really good. So I think this is a good card because of what it enables. Then we have 4 mana, 4/4 Undead, cost 1 if a character is frozen. 1 Frost Rune. Snow Shredder is what it's called. So 4 mana 4/4 snowboarding ghoul, undead ghoul, that costs 1 if a character is frozen. I mean, that works pretty well together with Crusher, right? And the new freebooter and the new slope, but I don't think the slope is great to play. I don't know. Like, it's not great. Like, Frosty K, we don't care, but like, you always play Crusher in every one of your rainbow decks. I mean, like, I don't really see Frosty K being a thing. I mean, unless you have like enough card draw, maybe then it's fine, but all the card draw stuff's pretty expensive. The 1 mana 4/4 is interesting, though. I think this card could be okay. Alright, but I'm going next. 4 mana location, Horizon's Edge. 5 charges, deal 3 damage, randomly split among all enemies. After a friendly minion dies, reopen this. Okay, I mean, obviously this would be garbage if it didn't have the second condition. But this opens up pretty quickly again, right? The problem is you can't you can open this theoretically 5 times in one turn, right? If I have a lot of minions on board and I can trade them off, I can open this up whenever. I mean, this is a lot of damage. This is like 15 damage for 3 mana. That is like mega arcane missiles. Sure, I need to trade off some minions, but I have a lot of tokens as DK. And this is not really running away. Like, if opponent kills stuff on my turn, it's still fine. I think this is a really good card, honestly. I like this a lot, somehow. I feel like this is pretty powerful. Just like in any... It has no runes as well, so I can just play it in whatever Death Knight I want. I can also play this in whatever Warlock I want. Warlock, especially Painlock, is kind of like low on burst. But the other thing that Painlock also doesn't do is it doesn't really trade that much on your turn. So playing this is not that great, because you play this, and then you want to activate it, and then you want to trade a minion, and then you want to activate it. So that doesn't really work all that well. But I guess it's like... It's usually like 3 or 6 bursts at least in a deck that doesn't have burst. Like, one of the things you can do against these decks is you can just pretend they don't have burst and then you don't care. It's pretty neat with a new 1 mana Warlock card that spawns 3 1/1s. That can be pretty obnoxious if you can... Like, maybe just play this as a one-off. Like, just to let you... Especially in open deck list, where your opponent just has to respect the burst a little bit more, and if they don't respect it, they die. Then we have 2 mana 2 Frost Rune card. Freeze a character, draw a card for each frozen character. So it's at least 2 mana, freeze a character, draw a card, which is like somewhat comparable to the cryo thing in Mage, where it freezes an opponent and then excavates for you. Though I think, I don't know, excavating I think it's worth a little bit more than a card, because the cards that you're getting from excavating are usually pretty good and they get like better in time. And the whole point about playing excavate packages is that you get the like legendary excavate, which is broken. So you don't really follow that topic here. And the problem is that it has 2 Frost Runes. I mean, it also goes for friendly frozen characters, which is pretty interesting. But I don't know. I don't think I want to play 2 Frost Rune stuff right now. That's my first impression of this card. Then we have 3 mana 1 Frost Rune. It's a 3 mana Undead Pirate. It's also a 2/2. So 3 mana 2/2, 1 Frost Rune. Death Rattle, freeze 3 random enemies. Any that are already frozen take 5 damage instead. I don't know. There's so much text on this card, it just feels like it should be good. I like it. I don't know. Like, I kind of like this card, even though it just kind of does nothing. It's just a bit weird. Why do I like a card that does nothing? It always freezes their face, which is nice. Like, I mean, if you curve this into this and you draw like... And then you still only draw 2 cards because they don't have any more minions. Like, if you play this with a 4-mana legendary from Warlock that makes your minions Death Rattle trigger twice and die immediately, you like freeze their board and deal 5 damage to it. That's pretty funny. What happens if this dies and your opponent has no minions? Then you only freeze their face. And if it's already frozen, you deal 5 damage to it. I still think this is semi-playable. I don't know, I like the text on this card. It seems like freezing is nice. Then we have Liza Goreblade, which is a 4-mana, 4/3 Undead Pirate Death Rattle for the rest of the game. Your minions have +1 attack. That's quite interesting, because it also works with your hero power. And like all your generated tokens and everything. The first time I saw this, I was like, it's kind of garbage. But once you think about it a little bit more, especially Rainbow Death Knight wants to go pretty long. And sure, you're losing some tempo, but you finally make your hero power like a viable Hearthstone card, you know? Like, you make your hero power finally viable. It's pretty good with the like 5 mana spawn 5 rushers for every corpse you had. And you're kind of playing like an attrition deck anyway. Rainbow DK is kind of like the attrition deck in Hearthstone right now. And it does fit kind of well on this, because you want to go long game, because you don't have the power to finish out games shortly. So this kind of fits the I need long-term value for the rest of the game, and I think it's a decent investment. Hunter has this in a 2-cost spell and it gets ignored. Well, I mean, Hunter does have this in a 2-cost spell, but you also get a 4/3 body with it. You theoretically get to trigger the Death Rattle. And Hunter doesn't want to go super long, and Hunter doesn't have a hero power that spawns a minion with charge. So this kind of makes sense to me. There's other cards where you can spread the Death Rattle and make your minions go even bigger and stuff like that, but I think that is kind of nonsense. You just want to play cards on curve as Rainbow DK, and this kind of fills the cards on curve requirement that I put on for DK stuff. I don't really see this in Warlock, because this is not how Warlock game plan works. Alright, Nadi, you added the Shaman cards just for you. Alright, I'll give some, and then the last 2 cards I already talked about. I already talked about buttons and about the popsicle at some other point. Alright, so I'm gonna give some ratings to the cards. So I think Eliza, is actually, on a scale from 1 to 4, I think Eliza is actually a 3-star card. The Freebooter, also 3-star. Slippery Slope, 2. Horizon's Edge is probably a 4. Snow Shredder is probably 2. The Buccaneers a 3. Ghost Knight a 2. Dreadhound Handler a 3. And then we have Corpsicle, which is a 2, and then we have Buttons, which I guess is also a 3. I didn't give any 1 or any 4. I don't think any of these cards are like terribly useless, but I also don't think any of them are mega broken. And I think the power of a class usually gets decided by how many cards are broken. I mean, Shamans is 5/5 that draws a spell school of each school and lets you put in Shaman cards. That's probably still pretty good. We're gonna have to have a look at the Shaman cards up next.